Hello, everyone. For week eight, weekly reading, we had the language teaching methodologies and approaches handout. The handouts had a lot of approaches that are familiar to me, but my first preference was the total physical response approach because I understood it. I agree that children do a lot of mimicking and data gathering in the beginning, so they learn commands in the second language, and then they are moved to on to do like skits. And I think that this approach is very, very, very useful because I remember when I used to go to high school, when I learned my first second language, which is Spanish. A lot of the information that I learned in Spanish that I still know today is the information that we went over during skits. I remember how to purchase items like in Spanish because we did a skit about shopping. I remember how to name all the different parts of my face because we were taught it in a song. So I definitely think that from my own experience that by doing these activities with second language learners, it will definitely help them in mastering the new language, in remembering it, for forever. Um, I also liked scaffolding strategies because I think it's fundamental for us as teachers to guide our students to be able to get the correct knowledge or correct information, and then independently, they'll be able to get the information on their own. In Ada and Compoy, Unit 9, we learned about developing relationships. We learned about the importance of relationships within our lives. We read about identifying the individuals that have been fundamental in developing our character and our lives, as well as those that are significant within our communities. By learning this, we learn about human nature and the influence circumstances leave or have on our development. Activities included a person, you know, in our lives, and examples would were like or grandparents, or a biography about a living or dead historical figure. In Ada and Kempoy Unit 10, it was entitled From Yesterday to Tomorrow, we learned about the process of self-discovery by revisiting our memories in search of better understanding and acknowledging our roots, and to give words to experiences we may not have yet explored or expressed. Um, we explored ourselves to discover our qualities and our strengths, our students' qualities and strengths, and see themselves in relations to others, as well as the significance of their actions. In activities for displaying this included the Where I Come From poem. Um, Definitely going to use that when I start teaching my class. I think it's definitely very important for our students to know, you know, who they are based on where they came from, and to never forget that. The Both chapters, chapter 9 and 10, I think were about how people around us affects us, how unique our students, how unique we as teachers are today, and our uniqueness tomorrow. So definitely enjoyed reading both chapters. Think is very fundamental and important to ensure that our students also know the information and they'll benefit from it. In Tabor's Chapter 7, entitled Using the Curriculum to Facilitate Second Language and Literacy Learning, it was very, 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 very informational. I think that chapter was filled with useful strategies that can help us from day to day in our classrooms. We learned about oral language development with teacher directed activities as well as children initiated activities. And it gave us different activities that we can do throughout the day to facilitate and ensure that our students are learning um, every day, every moment. The teacher-directed activities included running commentary, thinking out loud to explain what's going on, to improve the children's vocabulary. for children initiated activities, or children spoke about what was happening right in front of them. So the chapter also encouraged book reading. It told us how book reading should be done. The teachers recommended to be short, use short books in small groups, and to use predictable books. So instead of reading the words, like read the pictures to tell the story. Also, have the students try to read the pictures to each other to promote interactions during lunch. The teachers are encouraged to place the second language learners with English speaking children, and this will also facilitate the learning development throughout the day. It also it also encouraged teachers to allow students to answer questions in unison, because when you ask individual students, you kind of put them on the spot. And especially for second language learners, they become, shy or scared. So even if they know the information, we won't get to hear it because they become so shy. They're afraid to say it. So definitely, I acknowledge that point as well. I think it's something we should definitely do within our classrooms. Um, It also point out some important information about how much or how many words, new words, children should be learning daily. It told us 6 to 10 new words. I didn't know that. So that was very important to me, to ensure that throughout the day, I constantly add vocabulary words for my students. Telling stories is a higher level skill in English and very difficult for second language learners. That I did not know as well. So definitely we'll ensure that we give our students ample time to talk their own stories so that that can help them, in the future in uh, expressing themselves. I didn't know that it was that part would be difficult for students. It also told us that dramatic areas in the classroom, for second language learners, they normally stay away from that area until later in the school year because they're not fully equipped, or they don't feel as comfortable with the second language. They stay away from that area. And then during that time, while they're staying away, they are observing and, using nonverbal cues until when they are more comfortable in the school year around spring. That's when they normally move into the play areas and start to communicate and interact with their classmates. So for Tabor's um, chapter 7, and for Ada and Kempoi, both units 9 and 10, I think that we learned a lot about ourselves, and we'll learn a lot about our students, which will also help us in teaching our students. So I think both chapters were very important. I also think that the mythologies were very important as well. It just reiterates some of the information that, for me, for example, I already knew and will definitely implement within my classroom. So in conclusion, I definitely enjoyed the readings. I found them very informational and definitely got a lot of points or strategies that I can use when I start teaching. Really enjoyed this week's readings. I hope everyone enjoyed it as well, and I hope everyone has a great